Welcome. We're here weaving some stories with B. Dave Walters at Darkness Emergent, Los Angeles, 2025. The year's important because, as we learned recently, there'll be future years. Same place, likely some of the same guests, maybe?
We should
see
hope. Should we survive, should the nights be kind.
Exactly. But we're here with B. Dave Walters, which you know him as actor, professional GM, teacher of GMs, all things actual play, as well as you've been sort of on the cutting edge, a lot of the things of pushing actual play outside of, you did the first televised ones. You've DM'd for the Stranger Things kids.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the things I think are interesting about now you're bringing Victor Temple, a tabletop character, into a large space. But you feel like since you've already sort of played around, especially with space and stuff like that,
mm-hmm.
this won't be totally new for you, I imagine. But still, I'm interested in hearing more about that. But first, we already know from a previous interview, if we were to summon B. Dave Walters, what we would need. What we don't know is if we were to summon Baron Victor Temple, and we had our summoning circle, and we have to gather 3 things to summon him, what would those 3 things be?
To summon Victor Temple,
Yes.
you would need like a $10,000 break of cash.
Okay.
You would need a cell phone, and you would need like a demo CD. I almost betrayed my age and said demo tape.
Okay.
Demo CD.
Demo CD.
Even CD is betraying my age because it's all playlists online. But a thumb drive, a demo. You just need a demo.
There you go.
Put those 3 things in the circle.
However, you could get your demo in the circle.
Right.
Nice brick of cash.
Right.
Cell phone.
Cell phone.
And you might just be able to summon Baron Victor Temple.
You might be. That's as good a way as any, yeah.
Okay. Speaking of him, so you've created him as a tabletop character first,
Mm-hmm.
and now you've sort of grown into many seasons of that,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm calling the World of Darkness, like cinematic universe. He's
Mm-hmm.
in the card game, he's in LARP, he's in all sorts of things. Part of the official canon. And I'm not sure, maybe you knew that from the beginning, that I'm going to be creating a character that's just going to really
Well, so
be huge.
take a step back. I'm way older than I look, and I was there when all of this started in the '90s. The World of Darkness fell on my face. Like I was the prospect for these things, and actually my first love was actually werewolf, because it was sure you can be sexy vampire on Wii, or you can be like 7-foot rage monster that can throw a pickup truck. So I was like, I'll be
enticing.
I'll be over there, right? So I played some vampire from the beginning, but werewolf was definitely my first love. And even from the very first vampire games I played and early LARPs, I always wanted to play Clan Ventru because I just was drawn to them from the very beginning. So fast forward a few years, and Geek and Sundry at that time was doing a Christmas event in 2017, and they had a vampire one-shot that they did, and that was Jason Carl's first time ever running a game on stream, and it was my first time ever playing a game on stream, and we both did it at the exact same time.
I didn't realize this both of you. Okay.
In December 2017. So that was when I met him, and afterwards we became friends, and I now know, and I kind of knew then, that new versions of these games were in development. So Jason and I went and had lunch a couple of times, and we just talked about things like what would happen in the World of Darkness. And I was just geeking out with my friends that I was like, well, I got to have some minuscule input into, well, I think Clan Ventru would have done this. I think the Shadow Lords would have done that, because at that time it wasn't even clear what the product release schedule was going to be. But at least I sort of got to say, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that blew me away. And then fast forward a few months, and I get the call that LA by Night is happening, and we knew it was expressly designed to introduce vampire in the new game to a new generation of people that didn't know it. So I knew all of us were going to be the faces of our clans, and I wanted expressly to be the face of Clan Ventru to show people that they could be something other than sleazy stockbrokers. And we were in development on the show before the books came out. So we got the books, and I go to the section on the Ventru, and in that section, there is a letter to a young Ventru. And it's basically, it basically just says like, we're all watching you, make us proud. And I remember I got really emotional when I read it, and I still get emotional when I was even talking about it, because it's like I felt like they wrote that to me.
Yeah.
You know, that I was like, I'm gonna do my best, you guys. Like, I'm gonna try. And I think I pulled it off. I have a lot of people tell me.
I think you did. I'd say it's a fair assessment. And especially interesting is you're introducing people to you for representing the Klan, but also representing that Klan in the Anarch movement, which is not what you typically think of for the Ventrue.
That is absolutely the case. And you know, and when we met in Chicago, I was fortunate that I got to have the expression of a Ventrue prince that I tried intentionally to show. There's some things that are very similar about Jackson and Baron Victor Temple, just by nature of their background and upbringing and the fact that they are Ventrue. But there's things that are very different about them, because not only are they different people, Camarilla and Anarch.
Right.
Which I think I got that across. You know, I hope I got that across. But I mean, I would do like little things. Like the whole time we were there, I was blessed to have the Mandy playing my sheriff and Laura Tutu playing my scourge.
Yes.
And I had one of them with me at all times. And whenever anybody would try and talk to me, I would like just step behind them. You know what I mean? Like, I always literally had them between me and anybody, because it's like I always have my hitters around. Whereas with Victor, I have a very different energy. So much so that one of the conceits of this event is the main NPCs have lieutenants that just help. Because sometimes you're like, I need you to go tell this person that.
Right.
But I'm like made a point that it's like, I want to be by myself as often as possible. Because to Victor, he's like, I'll be all right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so different than it's like, you always be here and you always be protecting me, versus like, I'll be okay.
More of a man of the people.
Yeah.
And there's we've done the Meet the Authority event, and I was there taking some footage of that. And I was thinking about that too, is how Victor, Nellie, X interact with each other. To me, that was a really big difference between, like you said, usually Prince Jackson has those layers, or those boundaries of bodies between him and someone else. And this was like, oh, this is a group of important people, barons, but also, you know, there's a little back and forth, there's the ribbing, there's this and that, and like, these are anarchs too. This is that was not the vibe of the Cam Court in Chicago at all. I did not see your scourge ribbing you or anything like that. No.
Especially not in public. Like, are you out of your mind? No. It's the way that I explain it to people is the Cam comes from the top down and the anarchs come from the bottom up. You know, so it's very much like we're all sort of collaborating. We're all sort of like, you know, dealing with one another. Whereas like the very last thing Prince Kevin Jackson would want, especially in public, is like anything that makes him look like anything other than a badass.
Yeah.
Because
like,
it's like, now I gotta check you.
And his reputation is, that's in the Cam, that's everything. That's your armor as much as anything else. To where Victor, his friends, his coterie mates are as big of a part, probably a more important part than pure reputation. So they can treat each other as equals, and because they have each other's back more.
It is a bit of both. Like I was pointing out to people at the panel that we just did, that the only time in all 5 seasons of that show that Victor used his powers on another kindred were when he had to mass dominate Jasper and Eva to make them not fight Strauss.
Yeah.
It was the only time I ever did it, because it was 2 things. There was the meta of, I mean, for the players, you don't want to impede on someone else's fun. But I mean, I didn't even do it to NPCs, because I knew if I had to roll for it, there was a chance that I was going to fail. And if I failed, the threat's gone forever. Because Victor's the physically weakest of everyone. So the fact that you have in the back of your mind, but it's like, well, but he can make me do things, and like my thoughts maybe aren't really my own, that's the point. So the moment that you're like, well, that's not a thing anymore, suddenly he doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, more power in pointing that gun than pulling the trigger.
Literally, I mean, even with his hunter weapon, there was a reason why he didn't shoot it often, because he didn't have to.
Yeah.
Because the moment you shoot and miss, or shoot and hit someone and they live, the threat's gone. So it's like, it'd be a real shame if I had to use this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was the same way that I treated my disciplines. That I'm like, you know I can. You know I can.
Yeah, exactly. You know I can.
You know I can. Yeah.
How does, well, for the people who aren't here to know about our updates. What's been going on with the Baron? Can you give us a quick update on what's going on and what you're imagining or hoping to explore during the LARP that's about to happen?
Well, I have to put an asterisk next to anything I want because it's all subject to Jason Carl fiat and approval.
True.
But I can do one of the things that I kept as Victor, just almost a sacrosanct, was like, you just keep claiming stuff until you run into somebody that is like, no, that's mine. And then you have one of two choices. You're like, well, I either still take it from that person because I don't care what they think, or you're like, cool, I've hit your fence line. Great.
Now I know the
But
fence
now
is.
all this though is mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm gonna do you the respect of like, I won't come over there, but I got all this. You know what I mean? So if it were up to me, what Victor's been doing, in the absence of the cam, because he knows it's not forever. He knows even though we've declared the Anarch Free State, they're gonna come back, they're gonna try and worm their way in. What a coincidence, they've sent diplomats to talk to us. That's weird, right? He would have been branching out as much as possible. He would have been setting up, not necessarily like declaring, says, San Diego is mine now type thing, but definitely like sending people, sending cat's paws, invest in this, invest in that. You know what I mean? Like get up to San Jose, get up to San Francisco, fill as much of the vacuum as you can with, if not my direct interest, loyalists. You know what I mean? Is what he would have, to just secure the Anarch Free State. That's what he would have been trying to do, is secure the Anarch Free State and then expand up to Oregon, up to Washington, over to Vegas.
It's also very good, like very Ventrue, but very Anarch Ventrue. Because like you said, when he sees the fence, then you figure it out rather than here's a fence, you immediately dismantle it. And something I know you've talked about before and I think is really interesting, and advice for people wanting to LARP. I think you should, in general, I think it's always a good idea to put a little bit of yourself. There's to be something you could draw from in these characters. I imagine you did something similar with Victor.
I tell everybody, to a lesser extent, Dungeons and Dragons, but to a greater extent, Vampire, your first 2 or 3 characters are you, whether you mean them to be or not. A lot of times people play their idealized selves. I was blessed during the pandemic. I ran about 35 to 40 games of Vampire a month for about 18 months. I've run over 500 sessions of V5. I've run more than anybody. And I got to play with hundreds of people. And you learn a lot about a person with, especially because the beauty of the world of Darkness is it's this world.
Yeah.
And so when I say, you're now gonna be in this world forever, what mask do you choose to put on? You learn a lot about a person that picks a Malkavian or a Nosferatu or a Toreador, which, by the way, Malkavian, Nosferatu, and Toreador are the top 3.
Yes, they are.
And then, you based on whatever anybody chooses for their idealized self, you learn something about them. And then what ends up happening is when you actually get in and play it, the nature of this game in particular, it's like there's, with D&D, there's a lot of what I call filters. In the sense that it's like, if you've never played, I'm like, okay, so you're an orc. Well, what's an orc? You're like a noble savage type person. You're like, okay, and like you're a paladin. What's a paladin? Holy warrior. Cool, savage, holy warrior, great. And you're gonna be in Waterdeep. What's Waterdeep? Fantasy New York. I'm an orc, I'm a paladin, I'm in Fantasy New York. And now mind flayers are attacking. Well, what are mind flayers? They eat brains. Well, that sounds bad, it is. And you're like, so I'm an orc, I'm a paladin, I'm in Waterdeep, fighting mind flayers that eat brains. Great. And you have to like juggle all of these things and work your way through it until you get down to the human emotion that matters. Vampire has a lot less of that. It's this world. You're in this city. You're in your town. City Hall's right over there. The gas station's right over there. The only difference is now you're a monster and you don't want to be. You've just been killed and you've just woken up afterwards and you're starving. Go. You know, and you're in it. So as you're playing these characters, even though you, the human, might be a shy wallflower, over time you suddenly find yourself like speaking up a little more, becoming a little more, you know, authoritative. Just because you play the Toreador that must be the center of attention, The human starts to realize over time, it's like, well, really, I wasn't craving attention, I was craving significance. When those characters start to change, and in the context of those games that I was running, I saw humans change, not the characters. I saw the people playing them change.
Yeah.
I saw shy people learn to express themselves. I saw people work through a number of traumas. A lot of people came out of the closet. A lot of people came out of the closet, right? And it's this pastime. I mean, I think, especially if you're watching this and you haven't done it yet, and you're considering doing it, everybody feels a little silly at first. You know, you're like, I'm gonna play vampire make-believe. Really? You know, does my dress look stupid? Does my suit look stupid? No, first of all, you look incredible. But just understand, everybody is like, is this weird? And you're like, it's a little weird, but that's why we're doing it. You know, that's why we're doing it. We all come here to engage in some shared make-believe, to, in the process of, learn something about ourselves. Because, and I believe I probably made this point last year, because I make it often, our brains don't know the difference between what is real and what is vividly imagined. It's why you can have a panic attack or wake up from a nightmare and your heart is pounding. Or, you know, not to be too graphic, you can have a fantasy and have other physiological responses, because your brain doesn't know it's not real. So when you go through these situations where you square off with a rival, or, you know, turn back someone that is coming for what's yours, or have a consensual flirty scene, in your mind, those events live in the exact same place as prom. In every way that matters, it's real. And because it's real, it can have meaningful effects on you as a person. And that's the real beauty of it. That's why video games will never completely replace LARP or even tabletop, because video games can't do that, no matter how good they get. And that's the real beauty of it.
Yeah, and there's not a danger to it, but like you said, you can't necessarily, your body doesn't know what's real, what's not. So the more you put yourself into a character, the more it's going to be easier to feel those emotions, but also the easier it's going to be to have natural reactions and know what to do, because especially in a LARP, you're improvising for a long time with a lot of other people who are also just improvising it all. So the more, if you have a core that resonates with you, you can always draw from that.
I tell people all the time, Victor's me. Like, it's nothing to flip that switch and be him again.
What specific things did you pull in of, like, all right, this, I'm putting this into Victor from
No,
here,
I'm
this,
telling
or
you,
is
man,
it
like if I got embraced tonight, I'd have his life in 10 to 15 years, probably faster now that I have a roadmap, you know? I mean, his thing is, you know, he was a ball player that got retired because he blew out his knee, you know what I mean? But he was a person that was already a performer, he was an achiever. He's got a family, loves his family, will do anything for him. In his story in particular, part of what he had to do for them is stay away from them for their safety. But in his way, in his mind, he was still protecting and providing for them, you know? He still, you know, really cares about the people in his coterie. You know, he cares about doing what he says he's gonna do, and then you do what you say you're gonna do. And understanding that there's always a bigger fish. You know, there's a machine that we're all a part of, but you can still work your way up that machine, you know what I mean, and have your own place. And that it is important that, you know, you don't take disrespect from anybody, you know? You don't demand respect, you co-man respect, you know? And because that was his whole thing about when he was an Anarch. I mean, all through the story, this came up multiple times. Like, Victor's not actually anti what the Camarilla stands for. You do need order, you do need structure. The problem is the moment that you're like, if you're not 500 years old, you don't matter.
Right, yeah.
You know, that's when you're like, well, hold on. You know, he doesn't necessarily believe that just everybody running loose doing whatever they want is good. Because I'm like, that's only...
He's still a Ventru, and someone's got to make things work.
Someone's gonna make things work. You know what I mean? And everybody hates the Ventru until it's time to pay the tab, you know?
Yeah, and I remember you've talked about before, a really cool point you made, you wanted Victor to have, he doesn't have a criminal empire. Another big difference between like him and Prince Jackson and stuff is you're like, just a legit businessman. It's not even a
Correct.
sleazy stock guy, like you said, like true, like it, through creative, through artistry, and music
Correct.
industry and stuff like that. So that was really cool.
Correct. You know, I knew, again, because we were introducing this new version of Vampire to the Masses, that I was going to have a chance to be the face of Clan Ventru. And I didn't want to be a sleazy stockbroker, but again, as a person of color, you may not have noticed this. I'm a person of color. I know the cliche is always like, oh, they must have been a gang-banging drug dealer, which Prince Jackson is, and let's call a spade a spade. Prince Jackson was created by white people.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be not that he'd made his money because he was a good businessman. And again, Victor did a lot of crime in the context of being a vampire.
Yeah, vampire crimes,
Yeah,
different category.
Vampire crimes, a whole different category, right? But not in the process of business.
Yeah.
Because that was important to me, that I needed to show that not just a Ventru can have a finger in a lot of pots, but that a black guy can have a finger in a lot of pots. You know, I mean, the nightclub thing came from, I was just off of a stream, We're Live Frontier, that was like very like dark and gloomy and intense. And usually when I make a character, it's the exact opposite of whatever the last character was. Usually that's my first starting point, is what is 180 different than the last guy, you know, and then go from there. And so I had this intense, kind of stressed out type person. And even though Vampire is a storytelling game of personal horror, you're a monster you don't want to be, I did ask myself, I'm like, what kind of person would actually be having a pretty good time as a vampire?
Right. Yeah.
A nightclub promoter. You know what I mean? It was like, do you get to stay up all night forever?
We get to experience that.
Yeah.
We have is that tomorrow?
It
won't make sense
it's
to you
tomorrow
at
night.
home.
Yeah, we have.
But yeah, we get to actually visit Victor's club.
Club
Very
Maharani
excited about
pop-up.
that.
Yes,
Yeah,
we do.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that was the conceit of that. You know what I mean? That it's like, who actually would like kind of be enjoying this? You know?
It has to be like a fun opportunity for you too. Of like, you know, usually when you're playing Victor, things are going wrong. You have to fix it, and no one's. They need you to fix it, but they're also not happy about you fixing it. So everything's just on the shoulders. I'm like, oh, that has to be really cool. That you're like, also, I'm a fun dude, and I have a club. Just be able to have an in-character LARP thing of party with Victor.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome that they're doing a little bit of that, because there are some pretty. Victor's got a lot on his plate this weekend. Things have happened.
A lot's
happening.
You know, everybody wants to take a shot at the king. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. You
Yeah,
know, like
you'll hear about in the recap.
I'll tell you
all
this,
that.
because by the time you see this, it's not a spoiler. We're going through our little like briefing type thing, right? And they're telling me, and they're like, it's this and this and this. And then the head storyteller is like, man, I didn't realize like over half the plots involve people messing with Victor. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody wants a shot at it, right? And I got to fix all these problems, and then like everybody's still gonna be mad at me afterwards. You know, like everybody else gets these like beautiful expansions of their character arcs with these like meaningful like gains that they make, and it's like I'm on defense all weekend. To which I said, "Get in line, baby.
There you go.
Let's do it."
If anyone can do it, it's you. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, you know, I understand that one of the joys of not just playing the game in the setting that as we've described, but specifically things like this, is you want to try to be able to like bristle at the prince. You want to be able to be like, you know, kind of put your finger in somebody's chest type thing. And I'm like, I mean, you kind of can to a point. And then, as Jason likes to say, then the world demands what it demands past a certain point.
Also, something I noticed in the event there, I was like, I felt happy for Victor, because his coterie, they respect him, but in their own ways. And I was like, oh, there was like, you got to have that Baron presence, where I saw plenty of players that were like, they're not going to talk to you like that. And I'm like, that's what he needs. He's finally getting some of that.
That's the thing. And it was the same thing with Prince Jackson. A lot of people have it in their head how they're going to do it until they see me. And suddenly they don't want to anymore. And I'm like,
gotta feel good.
Probably for the best. Probably for the best. I mean, Victor's got a very different approach to things to Prince Jackson. Like, if you insult him within reason, he's probably just going to laugh it off. Like, all right, man, tip your servers. type
Yeah.
thing. You know what I mean? Like
He's got enough real problems that
Yeah.
he doesn't need to make those ones.
Yeah, you got to push a few more times before you get there. Whereas again, you know, the prince of a city can show no weakness, none, ever.
Yeah.
You know, especially the prince of the city who is also still the head of a not insignificant criminal empire,
Also true.
can't ever flinch. You know, can't ever back down, which is an unpleasant existence.
Well, any last words, parting words to the people, advice, or just anything else we should be looking out for
Listen,
you?
Well, me, I'm everywhere. You can follow me all over the socials at B. Dave Walters, all sorts of things, all sorts of places, all sorts of announcements. Blessed to be busy. But what I would say, dear friend, especially if you watch this all the way to the end and you haven't done this and you're thinking about it, do it. Do it. You'll be so glad you did. It is such a warm and welcoming place. I can tell you, if you do one of these events, and I'm at them more often than not. If you're not sure where your character fits in, feel free. If I'm there in person, you can tell me, and I'll say you can be part of my entourage. If you're not there, you can just be like Victor Temple sent me, like build off of me in whatever way is going to help you. But more importantly, if you're even thinking about doing it, do it. I promise you will not regret it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I rant and raved all about like the community aspect, how welcoming, how good people are, pulling everyone into stories and whatnot. There's an abundance of things to do, and I like that you can't do the majority of them because there's just so much going on, and I think that's a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still gonna have a great time, and you're still gonna be busy. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Pleasure as always, and you got a lot on your plate, so I'm gonna let you get ready for that.
It's gonna be fine, y'all. It's gonna be fine. Everybody thinks they have moves planned. It's gonna be fine.
Remember, this is the before. We'll see an after 2 nights of solving problems. We'll check in.
Whatever hair I've got left will be gone, type thing. Yeah, it's
All
gonna
right.
be fine.
Well, thanks very much, and that's it for us. Bye.